Books that changed my finances as a woman entrepreneur. Do you want to build wealth and master your money? Are you a woman entrepreneur who wants to make sure that you're doing the right things for your financial future? If you love reading business and money books, you are in the right place, because in this video, I'm gonna show you 5, maybe 6 books that changed my finances as a woman entrepreneur. Hey, welcome back to my channel. If you're new to me, my name is CourtneyLSanders. I'm a full-time life and business coach as well as wife and mom. I wear all the hats and do all the things, and I'm so excited. Like, can you see the excitement? I feel like a kid in a candy store. This is one of my favorite topics ever. In this video, we're gonna be talking about books, particularly books that change my finances as a woman entrepreneur. So this is so fitting. We are sitting in front of my bookshelf. This is one of my bookshelves. I have books all over this house. But if there's one thing that I would literally pay somebody to do, it is reading. I love reading. I love reading nonfiction. I should probably read fiction more. I keep telling myself, I'm gonna read fiction. I think it's good for creativity and kind of relaxing, but I mean, there's just so many amazing nonfiction books that I haven't read yet. I just feel like I never have time to read fiction books. And so I could talk about books all day, and I was like, man, I gotta make a video about some books that have really changed my finances. So I even did a video recently about how to live your dream life as a woman entrepreneur. And I talked about how I've been achieving my goals and a lot of the different things that I've done. And mastering my money was a big part of that. So I wanted to do this video to give you some books that are really gonna change your mindset when it comes to your finances, particularly as a woman entrepreneur. So we're gonna go over 5 books, and if you stay to the end, I'll even give you a 6th bonus book, which is slightly controversial. We'll talk about it when we get there, but I gotta put it on because it's made a big difference in my finances, and we'll talk about it. So with that, let's jump into it. All right, the first book that has made a huge difference in my finances is The Secrets of Six-Figure Women by Barbara Stanny. I love this book, and I recommend it all the time because she talks about the mindset that high-earning women have. And this was written a while ago, maybe in 2000s, 2010s. So some of the financial amounts might be a little different. Now it feels like making 6 figures isn't as much as it used to be, $100,000, but it's still a lot. And so she did this whole study where she only talked to women who made at least $100,000, and she found that they all said the same things. And so it's such an eye-opening book about the way that they look at money. But one of my favorite things that I learned from that book was that she talked about how she calls it under-earning women, meaning women who don't make enough to support their lifestyle and want to be making more. She found that under-earning women had this misconception that thinking about the money was bad, and that they were like better than that. Like, oh, I'm better than thinking about the money. I don't care about the money. I just want to help people. I just want to, pursue my passion. I just want to master my craft. Like, money, what does that have to do with anything? But she found that the high earning women, so the women who were making $100,000 or even $1 million, also, quote unquote, weren't in it for the money. And that's why they demanded that they made more. Isn't that crazy? They were like, I don't wanna have to focus on the money. Therefore, I am ensuring that I'm gonna get paid appropriately for my gifts and my talent. And I am insisting on being paid well, on pursuing careers or coming up with business ideas that are gonna help me be paid financially as a woman, precisely because I don't want to think about the money. And I think that that is so eye-opening because it's true. I find that people who are stressed about finances and they're mad that they're not making enough, oftentimes they have this kind of elitist attitude towards people who earn more, and they're like, oh, I don't want to be one of those rich, greedy people. All they care is about the money. All they're doing is focusing on the money. But the truth is, it's the under-earners that are always hustling at work, that are always trying to pick up overtime, that are always trying to do extra things to make money, because they're the ones thinking about the money because they don't have enough. And so this book just really shined a light on, if you focus from the outset on ensuring that you pursue things that are gonna make sure that you are financially well compensated, then guess what? You don't have to worry about the money because the money is taken care of. So that's just one of the big takeaways that I got from that book, but it really changed my thinking. And I've always kind of thought that way, but I love this book because it gave me permission, I guess, to be unapologetic about, no, I need to make money, I need to make a lot of it, and I need to figure out a way to do so. Obviously, ethically and in a way that serves and helps people, but I need to figure out how to make a lot of money, and there's nothing wrong with that, especially as a woman. I mean, again, I'm a married mom of 2. I think about all the different things that I have to juggle. I need to be making a lot of money for my time and my efforts because I'm not able to work 20 hours a day or whatever, maybe the way someone who doesn't have family responsibilities would be able to. I have a limited amount of hours that I can give to whatever I'm doing every day. And so that's all the more reason that I need to make sure that my income is commensurate with the amount of time that I could put in. So that's a great book. Check out The Secrets of Six-Figure Women. The second book that really changed my finances as a woman entrepreneur is The Millionaire Fast Lane by MJ DeMarco. I love this book. And you can tell when I love a book because usually I'll get it on Audible and I'll listen to it. And then I'm like, oh, that was good. I need to like read it. And so then I'll get it on Kindle to read it on my Kindle. And then I'm like, this is so good. I have to have this like in my possession at all times. So then I'll go ahead and order the paperback. And so The Millionaire Fast Lane is one of those books that I have Audible, Kindle, paperback. I have all versions of the book because it's that important. And so I love Millionaire Fast Lane, similarly to the same reason that I love The Secrets of Six-Figure Women, because he really dispels a lot of myths. You'll notice with a lot of these books, they're dispelling myths because there's so many myths that keep us from earning the type of income that we need to be earning and having financially successful lives. Like most of what you have learned or was taught to you about money is wrong, right? And so all of these books have really helped me break through that. But the myth that The Millionaire Fast Lane really helped me break through was this idea of quote unquote get rich slowly, right? So I'm not into get rich quick, but I'm also not into get rich slow. And I think that's important because so much of the financial advice that we're given is given almost if you're not willing to try. Like, I think our country and our society, and again, I'm saying this as an American, I know I have an international audience, but I kind of see this all across the board, especially in Western societies. There's this kind of paternalistic attitude of like, oh, poor you, pat on the head, poor you, middle-class person, you're never gonna make a lot of money in your life, you just need to just, save the bare minimum, just invest a little bit in your 401k, and maybe if you're lucky, when you're 65 or 70, you might have a good little nest egg to live off of, and you can just live this kind of comfortable pseudo average life and just finish out the rest of your years, without rocking the boat. I know that's kind of like a harsh way to say it, but that's kind of the financial advice that we're given. It's just like, go to work, pay bills, save a little bit, put a little towards your 401k, and maybe when you retire, you won't be this like destitute person and you can, take a trip once a year to Florida or something like that. Like, that's like the most that we are even taught to believe that we can do for ourselves. And so I really love The Millionaire Fast Lane because he dispels those myths, and he's like, most of the people who are financially successful did not follow that route, right? Most of the people went hard in their early on in their career, right? So maybe a dedicated 5 years, even 10 years, where they really locked in building a business or getting into something or figuring out how they can create a lot of value. And so from creating that a lot of value, they were able to develop a high income skill that allowed them to bring in a lot of money. And once they were bringing in the money, then they used that money to invest in assets. And so for the record, I'm not saying that you shouldn't invest now. Like, regardless if you make money, you're an adult, like you should be putting some away and you should be investing. But I'm saying that's not all you should do. You should also be focusing on how you can create a max amount of value, how you can create a high income skill. And I talk about this as well in that video about how to create your dream life as a woman entrepreneur. Mastering a high income skill is really important. And so MJ DeMarco in this book, The Millionaire Fast Lane, really expounds on that in a really beautiful way by just explaining that the most successful people, the wealthiest people, they did not do this, he calls it the slow lane method of just taking like crumbs from your paycheck because taxes and bills covers everything and you only have so much left. So taking these little crumbs and just squirreling it away for 60 years and then maybe at the end of your life you might have something you can enjoy yourself. No, you do have to work hard in the beginning, but find that high income skill, find a place where you can create a lot of value, max it out, use that to create the leverage that's going to really allow you to do more in your financial life. And I know that that's been the case for me. Learning this high income skill of being a life and business coach has allowed me to amass profits where I don't even have to spend my profits anymore. I can then invest those profits into other assets, and those assets make me money, and those assets pay for my lifestyle. So you see how this works? It's a totally different mindset versus just working, having one income stream, squirreling a little bit of money away, and never maximizing on your gifts and talents. So anyway, I could talk about this for a really long time, but I highly recommend that book. It's called The Millionaire Fast Lane by MJ DeMarco. All right, the third book that really changed my finances as a woman entrepreneur is a book called Profit First by Mike Michalowicz. This book is a game changer. If you are an entrepreneur, you need to run, not walk. Run to the bookstore and buy this book. Profit First technically is kind of like an accounting book, but he goes through the system and teaches you how to set up your business finances so that you always have money. Now, for my entrepreneurs will understand this, but have you ever been in a position where you feel like you're getting clients, you're making sales, you're always making money, but you feel like you have no money at the end of the month? Like, why is it that I never have enough to pay myself? Why is it that I seem to be paying business bills all the time? You really want to follow this profit first structure. So he talks about how to break your business accounts into 5 accounts. And so you have your operating expense account, how you have your tax account, you have your profit account, and then you have your account that you pay yourself out of. And it's like a lot, I can't remember everything, but I know I learned this pretty shortly after I quit my job full time. And I know that the concepts in this book have saved me, because had I not structured my business this way, I know that I would not be taking as much profit from my business as I am now. And so you really want to follow this methodology. Again, he shows you how to break your accounts down. It's like 4 or 5 accounts. I know it's like OPEX, profit, taxes, owner's draw or dividend, and I think there might be one more. So 4 or 5 accounts. But if you can structure your finances this way, and then he has little formulas like, X amount of percent should be going to your operating expenses, X amount of percent should be going to your profits. Like, you do that no matter what. If you stick to the system, and I've been doing it since I quit my job, so I've been doing it for 6 years, you will see a huge difference in your business, and you'll see much more money in your bank account, even if you're not generating more sales. Even if you just make the same amount of sales that you're generating right now, but you follow this system, you'll have more money at the end of the month, which is what it's all about at the end of the day. All right, I have many more where that came from, but first I want to hear from you. What are some of your favorite money and business books? Go ahead and share in the comments below. All right, the 4th book that has been a game changer in my finances, and I read this book recently, is called Tax-Free Wealth by Tom Wheelwright. This was a game-changing book for me, and this book has really helped me rethink how I think about taxes and what I do with my money. So I love this book because it's applicable no matter where in the world you are. Oftentimes, I know us here in the US or Americans, we talk a lot about the IRS and all these things, but maybe the IRS has different rules from whatever your taxing authority is in your country. But I love this book because it's beyond the individual rules, and it teaches you how to think about making money and what the government actually wants from you. And the biggest takeaway that I got from this book that's actually really surprising is that the government actually doesn't, I don't want to say the government doesn't want to tax you, but the government taxes you because they have to. Meaning, there has to be services that are provided, right? And the government, for the most part, provides those services, right? Clean drinking water, paved roads, etc. So they tax you to pay for those services. But if you, as a business, can alleviate the government's burden, the government is happy to give you a tax break because you are then doing something that the government otherwise would have to do. This is why real estate has so many amazing tax benefits, and I've been learning all about this because I recently bought an investment property, but I saved so much money on taxes just by buying an investment property, because think about it, the government's like, oh, you're now providing housing, right, that we don't have to provide, or you're providing commercial office space that we don't have to provide. Like, you're doing something that's a benefit to your fellow man, to your other citizens that the government looks highly on, and so they're happy to give you a tax break. And so this book just really expands your mind about all the different ways that you can actually serve your country, right? In a way, getting tax breaks is kind of patriotic if you do it the right way, right? I'm not talking about, not paying taxes that you're supposed to be paying, but if you can think about, how can I serve my fellow man? How can I serve my fellow citizen? How can I alleviate the government's burden by doing something that's going to benefit everybody? The government's like, thumbs up, we're happy to give you a tax break for that. That is actually patriotic. We'd rather you do that than pay us the taxes, because now we don't have to worry about it. This is why nonprofits don't pay any taxes, because the government's like, great, that's a service that we don't have to provide. A nonprofit is paying for that, so hey, we'll give you a tax break on it because you're doing us a favor. So it's a really eye-opening book, and it's really changed the way I think about my extra finances. A lot of entrepreneurs complain when they start making money, like, oh goodness, the government is killing me, I'm paying all these taxes. You need to have a bigger vantage point, start thinking more creatively about how you can serve your fellow citizens and alleviate the government's benefit by putting your money into things that the government would be like, thumbs up, we'll give you a tax break for doing that. All right, the 5th book that really changed my finances as a woman entrepreneur is Rich Dad, Poor Dad. This book is like the GOAT, right? The greatest of all time. And in fact, the previous book that I mentioned, Tax-Free Wealth by Tom Cartwright, I think is his last name, or Will Wright, I'm not sure. He's actually on Robert Kiyosaki's team, or he was a part of his Rich Dad Poor Dad series. So the two books go hand in hand. So if you read Tax-Free Wealth, make sure that you also read Rich Dad Poor Dad. But if you're here on YouTube where you're watching this video, you probably see a lot of Rich Dad Poor Dad content. But that book, I think it was written in the late 90s or early 2000s. That book is amazing, and it teaches you how to think differently about your assets and liabilities. So as I've been saying, all of these books are really about breaking financial misconceptions, because we've been taught so many financial lies from our early age that we really don't understand how to think about our money. And Rich Dad Poor Dad was one of the first books I read. I actually read it in college before I was making any money, whether it was in a job or in a business. But I love that it reordered my thinking about what is actually an asset and what is actually a liability. And so it has been very helpful for me, even fast forward, 10, 15 years now, when I'm working in my business, I am focusing on putting my money in true assets and not liabilities. And in fact, I'm like, how can I make my assets pay for my liabilities? So I talked about this in my Dream Life video, how I recently purchased a Tesla, and I did it using a strategy that is talked about in Rich Dad Poor Dad, and that I could have paid cash for the Tesla, but why would I do that? Because even though a Tesla is amazing, it's still a car, which means it's a depreciating asset. So instead, I took that cash and I put it in an asset. I put it in a rental property, and that rental property is cash flowing from day one. Got a tenant in there as soon as we did the renovations and fixed it up, immediate. So not only is my my rental property, it's now already appreciated, which is kind of crazy. It's already worth more than the purchase price that I bought it for, but it's also cash flowing every single month. And so I was then able to get the liability, which is my Tesla. And as a side note, I was able to get it under my business. So it's not even a personal liability, it's a business liability. And now my investment property, the cash flow from that, pays for the note on my Tesla. So I'm totally out of the deal 100%, and basically I get to drive this car for free. So that's an example of, again, how to understand true assets and true liabilities and how to manage your money. And so the book breaks it down, but once you're done with it, you're gonna be thinking about things so differently. So I highly recommend that you go and check out that book, Rich Dad Poor Dad. All right, I know we're at the end of the video, and I promised you a bonus sixth book, and I said it was kind of controversial, and it is. Again, this is another book that I've read recently, and it's really changed how I think about finances, more from a macroeconomic standpoint, but it's called The Creature from Jekyll Island by G. Edward Griffin. And I say it's slightly controversial because the guy, I don't know him personally. I think maybe he's written some other books that are maybe a little fringe in terms of how to cure cancer or whatever. So some people are like, oh, it's a conspiracy theory book. But I say this as someone that worked in the federal government and finance and banking. This is a thick book. I devoured this book, and for the most part, everything this man is saying is pretty spot on. And so this book is actually, technically, this book is about the Federal Reserve and our monetary supply and a lot of the problems that we have with not only the US monetary supply, but just, central bank based economies all around the world. But really what I took away from the book is understanding how the game is played. So the book is about the Federal Reserve and where inflation comes from. For instance, you ever wonder why your grandparents talk about being able to buy a cup of coffee for 10 cents, but now you go to Starbucks and coffee is like a minimum of $5, sometimes $7? It's not because necessarily that things are getting more expensive, but it's because the value of our dollar is decreasing because of inflation. There's all this money that's constantly being pumped into the system. As we've gone through the recent health pandemic crisis, we see a lot of money printing. As I'm recording this video, inflation is through the roof, right? Things are going up in price. They're not really going up in price. The value of the dollar is going down. And so I really love this book from the zoomed out macroeconomic standpoint that it's able to provide for me, but that helps me on a personal level make decisions about what I want to do with my money, particularly extra money that I have left over from my business. But it's also given me a sense of urgency in terms of encouraging other people, whether it's family, friends, or even you watching this video, to start a business, because this trajectory that they're on is not going to slow up. I know the news and everybody's talking about slowing down inflation, but once the money's in the system and it was created out of thin air, it's in there, right? It's going to be very difficult to pull all of that money out, right? And we will print money in the future. So this path that we're on, where the dollar is going to keep dropping, right, and prices are going to keep increasing, that's just a fact of life for those of us who live in economies with central banks, which is basically all of us. And so once you understand that and you read all the other books, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Tax-Free Wealth, Profit First, again, you understand how to make money and how to keep it. It helps you kind of bob and weave naive as things happen. So one of the things that breaks my heart is that oftentimes people live very reactionary lives from the news. They're like, oh my goodness, the news says gas prices are going up, or, inflation is through the roof and my wages aren't increasing. And it's like difficult to keep up. You're like a duck, maybe you look calm on the water, but your feet are paddling below the surface. It's because you don't understand like how the game is being played and how the system actually operates. And so reading books like The Creature from Jekyll Island and all the other ones that I mentioned really help you have a bigger vantage point so that you can say, you know what, I want to be in control of my financial destiny. I don't want to be, moved to and fro at the whims and at the mercy of the government or the elites or whatever, big corporations or whoever's the they out there for you. If you don't want to be at the mercy of them, having a global macro view helps you have more control over your finances. And I just wish more people could kind of be nimbler and bob and weave with all the crazy things that are happening in the world and with our economies and what have you. And so if you read these 5+1 bonus books, that will definitely be the case for you. Obviously, I made this book for women entrepreneurs, so hopefully you are an entrepreneur or you are an aspiring entrepreneur. But if you haven't started your business yet, or you just want to know more about how I built my $1 million brand, I invite you to check out my $1 Million Brand Masterclass by clicking the link below. All right, that's all I got for you. Whew, that was tough, choosing just 5+1 books. It's like choosing your favorite child. I love them all, right? So maybe I'll do more videos in the futures of other books that have been really instrumental for me. If you like this, don't forget to leave a comment. Make sure you give me a thumbs up and subscribe. And if you can't wait until my next video, come on over to Instagram, follow me at CourtneyLSanders. And if you can't wait for my next Instagram post, make sure that you are subscribed to my podcast on iTunes and Spotify. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.